Midsummer to late summer can be a good time to start a whole new garden for a complete new series of harvests. I'm starting today on my fall garden, and I'm doing it just outside my kitchen door. Join me today as I show you how to start a fall garden in a GreenStalk. Hi, I'm Gardener Scott, and the idea behind a fall garden is to take the empty space in your containers or in your garden beds and start a whole new series of seeds and plants. By being selective and choosing the kind of plants that can handle frost and freezes as autumn approaches, you'll be able to get a whole new series of harvests. Now, in these GreenStalks I've been growing since spring. I still have some beans and some peppers in this one, but the other plants like the lettuce and the broccoli have long since faded in the hot summer sun. I've pulled those plants, and today I'm starting new seeds. I'm about 4 to 6 weeks away from my first frost in autumn, and this can be an ideal time to get started putting new plants in a GreenStalk. I've chosen a pretty good selection of seeds today, and these type of plants should come as no surprise to you. These are the same plants that we typically grow in spring, the ones that can handle cool weather, because while it may be hot today, they're going to be exposed to cooler nights and cooler days as they reach maturity. It's plants like this green arrow pea and a couple different types of lettuce. I've got spinach and arugula, kale and radishes. When you look at the seed packages, often they'll give you an indication that the same seeds in the spring can be started again in the fall, like this lovage that specifically says you can direct sow in early fall. And these mustard greens say the same thing, spring or early fall. These Kyoto red carrots specifically say that they need to be started in late summer or fall into winter. These are the seeds I'm starting, and they should give me a pretty good harvest before the really cold weather sets in. Whenever you start your fall garden in garden beds or containers that were already growing plants earlier in the season, you need to be concerned about the nutrients in your soil. Especially in containers like this, you'll probably need to add new fertilizer and maybe even some new soil. I began by separating the tiers of the GreenStalk and then removing the plants from each level, doing the best I could to try to knock the soil off the roots and return it back to that tier. But some of the plants had developed some pretty extensive root systems, like this broccoli. I wasn't able to get all of the soil back into the container, which means I needed to add some more of my potting mix. I could still see some slow-release fertilizer pellets in the soil, but I went ahead and added an organic 3-3-3 fertilizer from IV Organic. I mixed it into the soil and added a little bit more of the potting mix to help bring up the level before I started the new seeds. This doesn't have to be an all or nothing transition. The nice thing about the design of the GreenStalk is I can treat each of these cells individually. And so in the front here, the parsley is still doing great. I'm leaving the parsley in place, and I'll just start seeds in the other cells. And in this tower, the beans and the peppers are still being harvested. I'll go ahead and put new plants into these upper tiers and allow the bottom ones to continue growing. When they're done, I might be able to go ahead and pull them and still have time to get another crop of some fast-growing, cool weather plants. Sowing the seeds in the GreenStalk is no different than any other container or garden bed. I've made a plant tag just to mark what it is I'm sowing. In this case, I'll put radishes on top, and then I'll just drop the radish seeds into the soil, cover them per the directions on the seed packet, and continue with each of the cells that I'm choosing to grow this type of plant. When you grow plants in the GreenStalk, it's a good idea to put the tallest plants at the bottom. That's why I've got the green beans on that one, and I'm putting these peas in the lowest level of this one. These will grow 24 to 30 inches high. So I went ahead and put one of these GreenStalk plant supports to actually support the peas as they grow. Starting them, again, is just the same as any other container or bed, but you do have to realize how big the plant is going to get. I'm starting 3 seeds in each of these individual cells. That should give me a lot of peas and should fill out the space pretty evenly. One of the reasons I like to grow a fall garden in my GreenStalk is because I have this frost protection cover. This will give me a few extra degrees when that first frost hits. So even though the plants I've selected can handle cool conditions, I don't want to expose them to really cold temperatures unless I have to. And this cover is one of the ways to avoid damage if the plants haven't fully matured yet when the cold weather comes. Another tip is to move the GreenStalk close to your house when the cold weather threatens. You're going to get both reflective heat from the morning or the afternoon sun, depending on where the sun is oriented next to the house. But you'll also get some radiant heat off of the house, which will help boost the temperature that these plants are growing at. You can expect that these seeds are going to germinate faster than normal in the warm weather with the warm soil. You can also expect that this soil is going to dry out a little bit faster, like any container, and you're probably going to need to water it multiple times a day. In a GreenStalk, I start by watering through the central reservoir. This distributes the water pretty evenly down to each tier. But until the seeds have germinated, I want the soil to remain evenly moist. So in addition to the central watering, I'll also do an exterior watering. And this is what I'll do 3, maybe even 4 times a day to keep the surface of the soil evenly moist. Once the seedlings emerge and are actively growing, I can apply a light mulch. I like to use dried grass clippings. And I no longer need to do the exterior watering 3 or 4 times a day. I can usually get by with just the central watering because it is a pretty efficient system. As the plants continue to grow, I'll keep an eye on the weather forecast and be ready to put the cover on and/or move it closer to the house to get a little bit extra heat. And ideally, I should have 6, 8, maybe even 12 weeks of good growing conditions until the really cold, freezing weather hits my area. In that time, all of these plants I've selected should reach harvest and give me exactly what I'm after, a nice fall garden. I'm Gardener Scott. Enjoy gardening.